Keith Thurman says that Terence Crawford and Errol Spence, hey, stop that cap, are hogging up all the belts. Also speaks on Jaron Boots Ennis. Find out more in this video right here on YouTube. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I am back with some more boxing. Thurman was on the PBC podcast. You better not duck me, Thun. You better not. And he said some rather interesting things. Quote, Thurman says, I might have to move up, meaning I'm assuming 154, the next division up, because all the belts are currently consumed. There's only two people at the welterweight class with the real belts, and that's Errol Spence Jr., Terence Crawford. Keith Thurman says for two champions, Errol Spence Jr. and Bud Crawford, to be holding on to all four belts right now, it just hurts the welterweight division as far as making some of the most exciting fights. That's just the caliber of competition that we have in the welterweight division. I believe a lot of fighters could be champions if there wasn't an Errol Spence and Bud Crawford currently holding on to all the belts. If all the belts were free floating out there, we'd have a lot of young champions out there, and there would be a lot of new action. We just have to wait to see what manifests in the welterweight division and how we get past this generation of everybody fighting for the crown. It's not that I'm running away from the welterweight division. I'd be happy to jump back down to welterweight division, but I'm all about good fights and proper timing. I've seen this record, and I don't know who he's beaten regarding Jaron Boots Ennis. He also has a record that matches mine. He had a ton of fights, but I still don't think he fought anybody. Keith Thurman goes on to say, Jaron Boots Ennis, he's tremendously talented, but I do think it's going to take a world-class fighter like myself to do something against Boots Ennis. As dominant as he's been, you can't just put up anybody against him. Quick disclaimer, I like Keith Thurman, and normally I feel Keith Thurman is very eloquent in his speech, and in the past he showed that he had an analytical boxing mind. That being said, I have to disagree with virtually almost everything that he just said out of every single quote that I just read right there, right? Why? Keith Thurman is saying that, almost denigrating the fact that we have only two champions left in a division. In what world is that a bad thing? Because, I can't say much for Crawford. Crawford, he just keeps doing what he's doing, but he got his belt in his first fight at welterweight. So he's just been defending. So he's able to hold on to his belt, and he's been kicking butt all stoppages since. But more importantly for Errol Spence, hey, stop that cat. That means he went one by one and fought champion after champion after champion. 2 unifications, and fought one guy in his backyard, Kell Brook. So realistically, I got me chocolate brownie, and I'm ready to fight with Errol since Amir. So basically, Amir, you know these things, bro, if you don't want to fight me. And I want to feed Amir chocolate right hand brownie. So anyway, he fought in Sheffield, England, mate. And he knocked him out. And Kell Brook's career pretty much was never the same. So how could Keith Thurman now be saying basically it's bad for the young generation that only 2 guys have the belt? 2 guys that may actually fight. We don't know. It's been very quiet. We haven't heard about is Crawford and Errol Spence fighting for undisputed. But that brings clarity to the division. That brings transparency to the division. Keith Thurman is making it sound like the world of boxing would be better off if the belts weren't reduced to only 2 great fighters that are both undefeated that might fight each other. And the belts were all split up and loose. I don't see how that would be beneficial to the sport of boxing if all the belts were scattered. Now, the chips and the cards may fall as they may. If that naturally was the case, then it is what it is. But how could you say that that's a better deal for boxing to have the belts all strewn about? That doesn't make sense to me, what Keith Thurman is saying. The other thing is, Keith is, in my opinion, he's saying everything but he'll fight Jaron Boots Ennis. He's saying stuff like, oh, who's he beat and blase. But then he's also saying it's going to take a fighter like me to defeat Jaron Boots Ennis. So to me, that's highly confusing that you're saying and admitting that he's a great, talented, tremendous fighter with a ton of skill set. He's calling you out directly, and you're saying nobody else but you or a high-level elite fighter can beat him. But then you're not saying that you're going to fight him. You're saying who's he beat and going to the record. So to me, that's a telltale sign of a fighter that's not really checking in that direction, right? This is, people say, oh, who's Charlo beat or who's the boot whoop whoop. They did it to Errol Spence. And Keith Thurman did it to Errol Spence. And this, listen, Errol Spence and Terence Crawford is a great fight. But before that was a great fight. Errol Spence versus Keith Thurman was a great fight. The problem being Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman was inactive. Keith Thurman was saying everything but I'll give Errol Spence a shot. He was saying Errol got to get a belt. Errol got a belt. Then he said, oh, but no, I got in a bumper car accident. This is, you know, my get back year. And speaking of like accidents, and I'm not saying to glorify, but Errol Spence flew through a car, hit asphalt, and that was something that the world witnessed, came back and fought Danny Garcia. Keith Thurman fought Danny Garcia and disappeared. Before the Sean Porter fight, Keith Thurman said he was in some kind of accident, which I don't even know if there was any kind of tangible proof of this said accident. And then he was very spotty and very absent and very inactive in some of his prime years. And then you go to his social media, he's in Japan with a flute, sitting Indian style, listening to, you know, classical music and reading Sun Tzu's The Art of War. And it's like, these are your prime years of fighter, any fighter, no matter how good, you have a window. You have any athlete, it's not just fighter. You got a shelf life. And he's like looking like a snake charmer, sitting cross-legged in, you know, Bali and Bucharest and Nepal and all this stuff like that. So it's highly confusing to me what Keith Thurman is saying. And when people are saying everything but just fight me, that usually means something. We've seen in the lightweight division, Teofimo, Ryan Garcia. Oh, Devin Haney, go fight someone, get a belt. Okay, he has all the belts. And now I don't hear Ryan Garcia calling for a Devin Haney fight. I don't see really Teofimo popping out saying Devin ain't this and that and that. So that tells you what you need to know. Sometimes silence speaks volumes. Sometimes silence and no response is a response. So the fact that Devin Haney became undisputed in another division, lightweight division, went overseas, and you don't really hear the people who are saying he got to fight someone and all that, you don't really hear them chomping at the bit or saying that they want Devin, as is the case with Keith Thurman. He's saying everything but, oh, let me get Ennis, and then he's making it sound problematic that only two guys have the belt. But that's not how boxing works. At the end of the day, Crawford has his belt because people can't beat him. At the end of the day, Errol Spence, I went over it earlier in this video, he got his belt because he's Errol Spence and his man down in strap season. So if someone don't like it, then they would have to get in the queue, work their way up, brand themselves, you know, rank themselves or whatever, get ranked, and then fight them and beat them. But to me, that's not a bad thing for the world of boxing. That's a great thing. That's a great thing because you prove that you're a true champion. If the belts are just thrown around, like this is not the Avengers where the wrong guy, Thanos, could get all the Infinity Stones and the whole world will perish if he gets it. We're talking about undisputed with Errol Spence and Terence Crawford, two great dudes and two great champions who are both undefeated. But here you have Keith Thurman making it sound bad. Don't really understand it. That's my 2 cents. If you guys have a different opinion, let me know in the comment section. Subscribe to my channel. I'm clearly the best in the business. I give you the boxing news. What more do you want from me? And I'm out. Introducing Super Thanks. Right here on the official Boxing Ego YouTube. Super Thanks allows you, the viewers, to show a little bit of extra gratitude, which enables me as a full-time content creator to push out the content you need in the world of boxing. Underneath all the videos, you will see a heart with the $sign in it. You can enter any amount that you find suitable as a super thanks. A brand new interactive and colorful way to get your comments highlighted and noticed by not only myself, but other people on the YouTube platform. Super thanks, a unique and cool way to show and applaud us full-time content creators. Hopefully you guys enjoy the content. Super thanks. The future is now. The Hibernation 5s by Kenichi Bear. Hybrid gaming and lifestyle headphones. Out of the box, you can connect to any console or PC. Bluetooth ready with a low latency USB adapter. color RGB, and extreme bass mode. The Hibernation 5s adjust to you. Whether you need a gaming, travel, gym, or lifestyle headphones, the Hibernations got you covered. The new Hibernation 5s, link in the description. Customize the way you hear the world. Welcome to the nation. Are you tired of your YouTube videos not getting any views? Well, consider TubeBuddy. I've used TubeBuddy for years to scale up my YouTube channel. Now we're sitting over 200,000 subscribers. TubeBuddy is a browser extension that offers a ton of built-in productivity and time-saving services to take your channel to the next level. Use my link in the description to get started with TubeBuddy and level up your channel faster. We working.